Hello and welcome to 1 Hour SaaS. My name is Mubashir Iqbal, everybody calls me Mubs. I'm building a SaaS business just 1 hour a day, and this is update for hours number 52 up to 56. This is my post-Thanksgiving update. I spent some time over the Thanksgiving break just to kind of think about what the rest of the year was going to look like for podcast paying and my building a SaaS business, and decided that given the type of product that podcasting is, it's probably a bad time of year to launch it officially. And so I'm going to kind of table the launch of podcasting until early next year, probably the first or second week of 2021. In the meantime, I'll probably still spend some time, working on it, just kind of here and there, finish out adding any features that I wanted, but really not going to be focusing on it until next year. So I started thinking about, what was going to be a good use of my time between now and the end of the year. And if you listen to the recent podcast I was on for the Indie Hackers podcast, you will know that I'm still very optimistic about the podcasting space, and I talked about some other ideas that I had that I was going to work on. So already kind of started by building podcast hosting review, and that's doing quite well for the amount of time that I've spent on it and stuff. And I've got some more recommendations for links and reviews and hosts and things, so I'll continue to add sort of those as well. And then so I started thinking about what's my next project, and I've always had an interest in design, even though I'm a developer. One of my first side projects was a thing called Most Inspired that aggregated design galleries into one place because I was interested in that. So I started thinking about the podcasting space and kind of what could happen there. And the cover art of a podcast is obviously very important. It's the thing that might entice people to kind of find out more. It's also often the first thing that people see. So what makes a good podcast cover art? What are the things you should have in there? What are the things you shouldn't have in there? And what's some examples of some good ones? So I started working on Friday on this thing called Cover Art, which is it's a directory of the world's best podcast cover art. And I'm still obviously, we're still working on this, still adding more examples and things. But it's pretty functional already. And really what I'm going to focus on for the next couple of hours of work here is to just add more. Obviously the key here is not just adding the podcast covers, but actually making it so that you can kind of find out more. If you're launching a podcast and it's in a particular and if it's in a particular category, you want to see other examples of things in that category. If you're thinking about including, like, let's say you're thinking about, like, should I have my photo on there? Like, what are other examples of podcast covers that have photos of the podcast host on there? Or if you're thinking about a particular color, which is probably not going to be a good example here, but what are other things that use that particular color, or have kind of illustrations in them as opposed to just kind of words and things. So there's a bunch of different categories. There's like some podcasts have animals on them. What are good examples of that? Which podcasts include a logo, or they have the actual name of the host on the cover. So there's a bunch of different options that you can do. So here you can find a bunch of different examples of kind of how all that stuff might look. Right now there's about 34 podcast covers that I've added. Now there's close to 900,000 podcasts now, so there's obviously a lot more to add here. I want to get to about 100, maybe 150 podcast covers and have them all categorized and stuff as well, and then I think we'll be ready to launch. So hopefully maybe next week I think we'll kind of do the launch, or maybe even towards the end of this week maybe we'll do another weekend launch as well. Just to have it out there as well. But yeah, overall, very happy how it turned out. Very happy with the build here in terms of how all this stuff works. Kind of keeping just the same thing I did with podcast hosting review in terms of having the podcast ping stuff down here, and otherwise just keeping it really simple and keeping it really really easy to kind of work with. This is one, if you saw my tweets, this is all backed behind, well, this is hosted still on the usual Laravel Forge stuff, but since this is kind of a little bit heavier in terms of images and things like that, this all is all served behind Cloudflare, so everything should be cached where it makes sense. I mean, anything that a normal user will see will be cached. Anything that I do in terms of admin stuff will not be, and all of the cover art and stuff will be cached as well. So hopefully that'll help keep the site really fast and snappy as well. But yeah, so that's kind of the plan for the next few hours, is just to kind of continue to work on this, get this launched out, and then once that's done, we'll probably roll into the next project as well, and just kind of start to build out the sort of group of applications in the podcasting space, and just kind of align things for a 2021 where we can really we can really push out more stuff for podcast ping, but really have a solid base to start making good headway on that in 2021. So that's the update, and I'll talk to you soon. See you.